Okay, we're live, and we're live in a different way. I'm on my desktop, and you're on your phone. We're going to try this
Yes.
out. Hopefully, this we get it to work. Um, in fact, one of these days, we probably need to do something called sustainability and tech.
Haha.
Just to deal with all the tech issues because
Yeah.
I've been playing around with AI and Notebook LM to sort of see if I can actually get more value out of content. So we'll maybe as we progress, because things are moving quite quickly in that area. Like there's a lot of updates.
Yeah.
Okay, so today I sent you a couple of links about plant-based nutrition.
Yeah.
Uh, did you get a chance to see?
Yeah, I did. I kind of just skimmed through the two
Yeah,
links.
me too. Which is, I think, okay because I think what we're doing is when we talk, we I think we map the area of the subject a little bit. I think
Yeah.
eventually we have to go back in and go into this in more detail. So, in
Yeah.
a way, this sort of helps to sort of to figure this out a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but weirdly enough, I sent you the one that I thought we were going to talk about, and then today I get another piece. It's actually complaining about how the U.S. The
Policies have changed.
the US just updated their sort of nutrition thing. Is that you? I can hear.
Yeah, it's the road behind me.
Okay. So you said you're at your mom's house, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I just need to get my screen. So it's a bit weird because I'm oh yeah, okay. Different setup.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the original scope of our chat was actually I'll put the link for this.
Mm.
There's a writer on Substack that I follow, and she had a post called "The Top Science Papers of 2025 Supporting
Right.
Plant-Based Nutrition." And then today, she follows up with another piece that says "Hope Stashed as New U.S. Dietary Guidelines Veer off course." So I
Yeah.
kind of want to start with actually why it's worth talking about the,
Yeah.
in the first place, why it matters because it's not just about eating plant-based food. Uh, it's actually about health. We're actually
Yeah.
seeing a lot of signs about how eating meat is becoming quite problematic. There's actually it affects disease and lifespan and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that's one area. Then the other area is actually which she picks up on the second piece is we also want to reduce animal suffering. It's like if we can, it'd be great because we're not eating cows that are and chickens that are living on this beautiful farm and
Yeah.
eating free range. They're actually living in very cruel situations,
Yeah.
and we, eh, I certainly feel a bit compelled to try and do something about that where I can by, just reducing
Yeah.
my reliance on that area of food. So that requires me to understand more about, plant-based nutrition,
Yeah.
sources of plant-based nutrition, and so on and so forth, which we'll sort of go over. The other big area I kind of want to map out, maybe you can talk to this a little bit more, is actually this notion of uh, so plant-based food plant-based actually sort of took off a few years ago. It had like a really big momentum.
Yeah.
Singapore was really kind of getting behind it. It seemed to
Yeah.
be like a new capitalistic kind of direction. But I think
Okay.
what people don't realize is, there's a meat industry at work to try and stop it. You know, So there's a lot,
Okay.
so there's a lobby that is also sending out misinformation, funding alternative studies that are and alternative points of view. So one of the
Mm.
common ones what they're saying it's the food is highly processed, etc. And actually, one of
I
the
think
things,
it's a spectrum. When you
yeah,
talk about plant-based specifically, I think there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum of what you call real food, which you can see the brinjal, you can see the beans, you can
sure,
see
sure,
the leafy vegetable, you can see the plant in it, right? And then you have the semi-processed, which is like your mashed potato, for instance, you know, your stewed uh whatever stuff that you put in the stew. And then you have the processed one, which is you don't even see the soya bean, it's just bean curd. And then you get more processed from there, right? And so I guess in just the plant based alone, there's the non-processed and then the ultra processed. So I think then it is we need to be responsible about figuring out where on that spectrum we're eating when
yeah.
we're talking about plant
That's a good
based.
point. I think that's also where I'm going to do some work. Is maybe we need to
Right.
help this navigation process because
Yeah.
he actually writes in a second piece that not all processed food is the same. You just pointed one good one. It's tofu, which we've been eating for centuries
We're Asians.
in this part of the world. It's processed food.
Yeah.
But is it? So she's actually saying there's a difference between processed food like this and high sugar or high fat
Yes.
processed foods, which are
Oh, high
addictive
salt.
and bad for, and salt, which are bad for
Yeah.
you. So there's processed food and there's processed food.
Yeah.
And if your processed food is plant-based and you're getting better outcomes from it than by
Yeah.
eating a processed meat food, then maybe the plant-based one is better.
No, and also even in the plant-based processed food category,
Yeah.
you have things like sauerkraut. You have things like you get what I mean? Because it's
True,
processed,
true.
it's
Yeah,
salt.
yeah. Yeah.
It's fermented. It's a form of process, but it's not chemically processed.
Yeah.
So within a category, there's subcategories as well. And I think you're not comparing apples to apples when you just generalize processed versus real food. Yeah.
Okay, then I think what you brought up is actually a sort of a third angle to this, which
Yeah.
is something that I think we may have a role in explaining is, we're looking at a US based person talking about a US based diet issue.
Yeah.
And we are also in an environment that is driven by a globalized capitalistic structure.
Correct.
When you go to a supermarket, it is actually not very Malaysian. It's driven by a very
Yes.
global sourcing
Yeah. It's
supply chain.
reconditioning our eating. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have some really screwed up ideas about what is the right thing to eat because we're
Yeah.
also I don't know if you've ever looked into like the psychology of supermarkets.
No.
The way every shelf is different value.
I remember you telling me this. If it's
Yeah,
high
if the
level,
shelf
then
is
it's like
at eye level, it's a different value.
I remember we've had this
So
conversation.
your environment can actually make you make decisions.
Yes.
You will avoid the things on the
Capitalism.
on the bottom shelf,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things at play here,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it is caveat emptor. Consumer beware. You have to play a role in your own navigation of this a little bit too. Um, so and also embedded in this problem is actually our own
Bias.
heritage, localized ideas about
Yeah.
food, how they've
Yeah.
been contaminated by new ideas,
Yeah.
how they've been contaminated by capitalistic ideas.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, one of the things that she brings up is, that the meat lobby wants to tell you that you need to eat a lot of protein, which is she's saying is strictly not true according to nutritional
Mm.
guidelines. You know, you need to eat protein. You need to eat a certain amount of protein, but
Yeah.
you don't have to eat meat-based protein either. You just have to figure out how you're going to deal with uh, that.
Yeah.
That is for sure. Um, okay, so let me go back to some of the headlines in the first link, which is about the science papers of 2025. Um, so one big deal is that why we also need to think about this is there are a lot of studies that says that our health is worsening, and we know
Yeah.
why. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy. I mean, it isn't so crazy because we know so many things about our health, even though it's in plain sight, and yet we are still not solving to it. We're not solving to it from a governance point of view. We're not solving to it as just from a natural intelligence point of view. We're just allowing our market environment and our information environment to drive us into these
Mm.
areas of eating that are actually not good for us. So lifestyle expectancy is stalling in Europe,
Mm.
lack of progress in reducing deaths from cardiovascular disease and cancer, which are generally lifestyle driven. You
Yeah.
know, it's what you eat, whether you're smoking, and so on and so forth.
I feel like in terms of that conversation, I would say we're quite privileged in Malaysia. You could walk out and go for chap fan, which is a Chinese mixed rice. You can go for Malay mixed rice. You can go for Indian banana leaf. So these are quite readily available,
That's true.
and these give you both vegetarian and non-vegetarian varieties of food. But the thing that all three cultures get you trapped into is rice. We are eating way too much rice for the lack of physical activity that we actually do,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
that's a whole other ballgame,
when I first
you
came
know?
back and I was like eating at a Indian banana leaf, I
Right.
saw these guys. The rice is like this. I was like,
Mountains.
whoa.
Now I have to say quarter because if I don't say suku, I will get like the full
Uh,
plate, like three parts of rice, four
yeah,
parts of rice.
it's
Like
actually they use a plate to get the rice. It's
they
not.
use
It's
a
not a.
small plate to pile the big plate.
Yes,
Yes.
it's not even like a little to-do anymore. Actually,
Yeah, yeah.
that is one area that I'm quite strict with myself because one of the big things about nutritional health is actually portion control.
Yeah,
With obesity and weight being very high up in the top 10
yeah,
problematic areas, how much you eat is a big deal.
yeah.
So I actually have a little measuring for my rice.
Right,
I
right.
don't let myself eat more than that in a meal.
Yeah,
And if I'm hungry, I'll eat more vegetables and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
But I sort of
I mean,
try and
vegetables have got carbohydrates too.
but
Yeah, depending on what vegetables you're cooking. Yeah,
they're complex carbohydrates, so there's more
yeah,
fiber and things
sure.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more fiber. Yeah. And I
Which
think that's the other thing, right? When you talk about plant based, you really are looking at that gut health value of
yeah,
eating your leafy greens and your legumes because your basic protein building blocks come from legumes. And then your gut health fibers, your probiotics come from those leafy greens that you then blanch and stir fry and consume.
yeah.
So you need that balance of legume, leafy greens, and your grains, which is typically for us is rice. And yeah, and I think
In
you'd
fact,
have a decent diet.
that second article says something about the fact that these new guidelines say nothing about fiber, even though we know now that fiber is actually a really important part of our diet. She
Yeah,
says there's
yeah.
not enough attention paid onto it because it's that actually helps a few things. One, it actually helps our satiation, that we feel full, so we're not
Yeah.
wanting to eat it.
Fats help
Yeah,
with satiation too. Yeah.
yeah. And also, it also helps with things like our microbiome. It's in that fiber that all these organisms live and, all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of
Yeah.
complex. I don't think we'll be able to sort of dive into the real detail of this because
Yeah.
there's actually a lot of information to get to. But definitely fiber is one of the headlines that we don't really, we're not being directed into this area very well.
Mm.
I think we hear a lot
There's
about
very little
protein.
education about good
Yeah.
nutrition. And I
Yeah.
think the food pyramid can be chucked out the window because it's so archaic and it doesn't make sense. You need to flip the triangle now. There are
What
certain
was
things that
interesting, she said it was
yeah,
quite good actually. that the diagram for this food is no longer a triangle, but a
Yeah.
plate. They use a plate.
Yeah, circle. Yeah, yeah. And you go by
So
portions. Yeah.
it sort of removes the bias because the triangle kind of indicates this is more important or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have
So
more of
correct.
certain things and
Yeah.
less of certain things. So you get that.
So people are that's in a way it's sort of saying, oh, protein is really important. You should just eat more of that and ignore
Yeah,
the stuff
yeah.
at the bottom. Yeah. Yeah. So fiber is a thing that I don't think we kind of are informed well enough about how it fits into the the whole story.
Yeah.
Um, there's a widening gap between health span and lifespan.
Okay.
I have to check out where Malaysia is at. I do know that Singapore's lifespan has jumped up in the last
Blue
10
zone.
years.
Yeah.
So they've gone into blue zone and their lifespan has gone up to 80, 86 or something like that,
Mm,
89. And we are down at 79 or something. We are,
mm.
we're,
We're not too far behind. Yeah.
yeah. Although to me, it's always shocking. We're 8 miles away and we're living in another world. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
mean, you can be neighbors with the vegetarian, right? And they have a totally different diet from
I
yours.
guess.
So.
Uh, then there's this idea of dietary risk. Uh, uh, too low intakes of fruits, vegetables, legumes, grains,
Mm,
nuts, and too high intake of fat and sweet, sugar sweet beverages, industrial trans
mm.
fat, and so on and so forth. And then the other thing that is actually emerging is we're also seeing problems with synthetic foods. We're actually seeing obesity because of uh, not what's the thing that's not sugar. Uh, you know,
Like
it's like fake sugar.
artificial sweetness.
Yeah, artificial sweeteners. There's a
Yeah.
connection between that and obesity now.
Yeah.
Even though we thought that it was better for us because we were eating less sugar by
Mm.
eating these
But
alternatives.
it had a different side effect that we didn't anticipate.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um,
I think in terms of artificial sweetness, there was one that I was reading that was saying that it actually causes toxins in the gut. So when you consume it, it confuses you about having sugar.
uh,
But when it goes into the gut to be processed, that's when it becomes dangerous for you. So it either kills certain gut microbiome and stuff like that, or it neutralizes some micronutrients that you are digesting at the same time. And that's the other thing, right? The more fruit and vegetable variety you consume, you get a bigger variety of micronutrients. So the less processed and the wider your variety of natural foods are, the more opportunity for you to replenish micronutrients through your diet. Yeah. And so supplements are supplements. It's meant to boost something. But I think if you're doing long-term maintenance consumption, yeah, micronutrients from your food it comes from your fruits and vegetables. Yeah. Yeah.
so then the next sort of subheadline is plant-based diets are nutritionally adequate and offer health benefits. And that is actually
Yeah.
something that the meat lobby is trying to dismantle.
Debunk.
And this new American nutritional guide is actually saying that meat and dairy products are very rich sources of nutrition, and without saying what are the harms of that source of nutrition. Um, so that is actually part of the problem. People, you hear this a lot,
Mm.
especially with lifestyle. People are working out. They think that
Yeah.
there are. I read things about how, you have to worry about your protein when you're getting older and stuff like that. But actually, we're not getting enough information or science-based information that's reassuring us that diets are nutritionally adequate. In fact,
Mm.
just to go to your the blue zones, they actually eat much lower protein-based diet than the rest of the world, which was
I think
actually quite confusing.
I think when you eat uh less meat, your food digests faster. So I'm not
Well, then
saying
maybe they're also eating more complex carbohydrates in their diet. They're eating more.
it's Possible, yeah.
more real vegetables and more.
Yeah.
Uh,
I yeah, I think it's also very important to be critical of trends because sometimes
sure.
you jump on a high protein diet and then you realize that your protein is actually highly processed and full of sugars or whatever it is that the substitutes are. So I think to a large extent, I feel like if you look back at like traditional diets and you eat in a moderate way, quantity and quality, I think you are quite safe. And
Yeah.
I think this relearning, like you said, what we eat every day is very polluted by our aspiration to be to the West, or
Yeah. I
like
mean, when in the 70s,
influences. Yeah.
in the 70s, this is my era.
Mm.
Uh, I was a child in the 60s, and then in the 70s, I read a report. I wish I could get my hands on it again. It was actually written up by I think the World Health Organization
Uh huh.
that actually said that the Malaysian diet was one of the best in the world because of the amount of vegetables we ate. And actually, I can remember at that time two things. One is there were no fat people. I know this because I was a fat kid because my parents thought that Western food was good. So they would go to Singapore to the cold storage and buy all these snack things for me to eat, to take to
Right.
school and stuff, chips, chocolates, biscuits. And I became fat. I was like the fattest kid in standard three, I remember. And everybody else is skinny. All the adults was slim, you know.
Mm. But it
So
also
that's
was
not
the
the case
transition
anymore.
generation from labor heavy work to modern work.
I don't know if we were doing a lot of labor work then. Maybe we were
The
because
generation before that.
we had already moved into white collar work by the
Yeah, yeah,
60s and 70s, but maybe we moved around a bit more.
yeah.
Maybe we
That's
walked
more
just
physical effort.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More walking, more
yeah.
cycling,
We are actually
more
taking that
job.
out of our lifestyle now. We don't want to walk at all. We want to
Yeah.
park right outside the restaurant, you
Oh
know?
my god, we can inside the restaurant.
It's sort of a craziness, right? Uh,
Do you know some of those some drinks when you buy them, they have a label that says ABCD. Have you seen this on drinks?
no.
And then it will tell you that like, oh my god, I can't really recall, but there's a alphabet ABCD. A is like highly nutritious, encouraged to drink. Typically drinks as nutritious as it gets, it will only get like a C. It's
Hmm.
very hard to get a drink that's B, much less an A, because the guide behind the drink nutrition categorization is very stringent, and it's meant to discourage people from drinking bottled and boxed drinks. So I know if you buy from like Singapore and Australia, those
Oh, I
labels that
see.
come,
Yeah.
it has like a ABCD thing. And yeah, it's very interesting that not everyone is required to have such labeling on the food. And I think
Actually,
that
there's even
helped.
countries like I don't know what it's like in Singapore now, but I know like in Mexico,
Mm,
they couldn't there was so much pushback in the States when they tried to do it. They wanted to punish sugar. That means they wanted to make sugary drinks more expensive. That was
okay.
like a tax, so it would cost you more to buy a sugary drink. And it actually exists in Mexico. And I think the data that's coming out of Mexico is this improved health,
Yeah.
because it's
No, but
forced people
the
to.
re- the vehicle that brought sugar into our homes in our daily life that maximized sugar availability was high fructose corn syrup, which was used in medicine.
Right.
That's how it started getting introduced. It was introduced in cough syrups, in fever concoctions,
Hmm.
in flu medication. So anything that you could drink, a syrup that you could drink, had a lot of sugar. And at the time, it was about child mortality and to increase, recovery rates. And so people were very supportive of the adoption because they wanted their kids to feel better. They
Right.
didn't want their kids to be sick for so long. And one child would pass it on to another child. So if you have multiple children, you don't want it to,
Mm.
chain react the whole family. So I think the adoption was in like the 80s. And as soon as the high fructose corn syrup went through the medical space, it was so available because that was the point which corn, the farming of corn, became very widespread for feed, for sugar, and for other things. So, like you said, we are totally influenced by the larger industry, which has
Yeah, and
had
that's a
a longer time to plan its entrance into our
yeah,
lives.
and that's an economic.
Correct.
It's economics is
Yes. It's a
created that thing
large
because
scale. Yes.
it's a cheap resource. So now corn is just a huge commodity, just as palm
Yes.
oils, because these are all
Yep.
just very cheap building blocks to create the the construction of the food things that we see in our marketplace. I just
Correct.
want to go back to our sort of our traditional diet thing for a minute because I said that we actually uh, our traditional our sort of heritage diets like even though we have Indian community, Chinese community, Malay community, and I think my community, the Eurasian community, were the were not eating the best food because we were actually aping Western
You're
food
very Western. Yeah.
more than anyone else. But I think everyone else is caught up now. I think most people are eating a much more Western diet just to be
Yeah.
this. But in that more Asian diet, we would see much less meat. A lot of my friends were not eating meat every day. They were
They were
eating meat
morsels part of vegetable
maybe meat at the weekend,
or a
or
birthday.
like maybe slices of like a Chinese stir fry with just a little bit of meat fried in,
Yep.
uh,
Yep. Yep.
an Indian dal curry with little bits of mutton, maybe the mutton and fat, you know. So that's changed in what we perceive as a good thing. So I think that
Yeah.
this is a very cultural thing. We think that eating meat is a sign of uh, being middle
Prosperity.
class, prosperity. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was the other problem. When I was fat, everybody said, "Oh my God, you look great. Yeah, look cute." So lucky that your parents can feed you so well. Blah blah blah. It's the absolute opposite of the situation. So that's one area is that we actually ate less, and then I think there was a lot more embedded wisdom in our food.
Yeah.
For example, Malay food. A lot of fried food is fried with turmeric. Like the
Yeah.
fish
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
chicken. So
Yep.
turmeric actually contains an ingredient that helps your liver. That means it's actually it's like
Yes.
removing whatever the fried was giving a problem.
Yep.
Turmeric was removing that problem.
Moderation as
Yeah.
well.
Whereas now it's
Yeah.
KFC, Mary Brown,
Yep.
thick, thick, battered. Oh my gosh. I
Yep.
mean, which is addictive. I mean, I love it. I have to say, sometimes, sometimes I allow myself to eat it because I'm like, oh, I have no choice. I'm hungry. It's lunchtime.
I mean, as
I'm trapped in the mall.
a
I'm gonna
reward,
take
why
it.
not? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
No, but
delicious.
like you're saying turmeric, right? If you
Yeah,
look at it, uh, our Asian culture has a very sneaky way of embedding high nutrition into simple foods.
yeah.
Like there's coconut milk in nasi lemak,
And
there's
that's pretty much
turmeric
a great
in
example of
biryani.
a yeah of
Yeah,
something
then
that
there
I think
is like
we utilize for. We knew how to build a kind of a cheap meal that was
yeah,
full of nutrition, like a nasi lemak,
yeah. Yeah, like
coconut
you
milk.
use pandan leaves, you soak it into like tong soy, those soups that you drink in the evening, those
Yeah, yeah,
like the
yeah. I
soups,
did
yeah.
know. Yeah,
And then you have fenugreek, which you cook in your rice.
yeah.
So there are so many ways to sneak nutrition into your plant-based natural foods.
And
You
that's
know,
another key part of nutrition. Diversity in nutrition is
yeah,
actually really important, which is something that Western food does really badly.
yes.
I was reading something that said,
Western food's very literal.
why would you want to eat spaghetti olio, which is garlic, olive oil, and wheat-based pasta,
So
when you can eat
delicious though.
Penang laksa, which has like 30 ingredients. You know, it
Some
has,
auntie was slaving in the back.
you know, and all the that combination of 30 ingredients has got, there's like the omega oil from the fish, there's the capsaicin from the chili,
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
all the little all the herbs that I
Bunga
mean,
gantan,
yeah,
asam keping.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to eat Penang laksa, actually. Do you find that?
Why? Because it's got lots of stuff
No,
inside, is
no,
it?
it's hard to get it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's hard to get it for
You
sure.
know, I mean, the only places I can get it in JB is actually like a soup, like a mall chain. There's like a mall chain that puts it in like a
Right, right,
paper
right, right. Like some
thing,
laksa place. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is like, and then there is a night market. There's this one guy that's got it, and then if I ever go to the night market, I always eat it. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, because there's actually, even like, the what is that thing? It's called heko, which is the brain of the prawn.
Otak-otak? No.
No, that black stuff that they put in rojak. You also
Hafiz.
put in Penang laksa.
Uh
It's always like a little container. It's like black.
yeah.
It's
It's
made
not
of
otak-otak. What is it?
it's
It's
made of
called
prawn brain. It's called
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not budu. It is what's it called? I know what you're talking about. I just
right,
the
right.
name's not coming. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a main ingredient in rojak.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
so
kick
that's
to the whole thing.
missing. And then actually, when you think about how especially the Indian community, how it's thrived on vegetarian diets for centuries, how they learn how to build diets and dishes and that
Yeah.
complexity that is nutritious, fulfills your nutritional needs and your trace minerals and all that
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
is somehow figured
I mean,
out.
look at mustard seed.
Yeah,
You eat a dal with no mustard seed, it's like, huh? There's
yeah,
something missing.
yeah,
Yeah, mustard seed. Oh my god.
yeah.
Yeah. They use a lot of ghee, clarified butter. So
Actually,
yeah,
that
there's
is
a
something
lot
that
of
I definitely want to do a deeper dive into. Is that why did our food perform so much better before that we're walking away from? There must
convenience.
be. It's convenient,
I
yeah.
think
I mean, I know why
convenience
we
is just
walk away from
convenient.
it, but
Yeah.
what are we walking away from? What are we replacing it with? Because, we most people now, I mean, we've said this quite a few times in our podcast. A lot of my friends are saying their children don't want to eat their heritage food. Indian kids don't want to eat curries. Uh, Chinese kids and Malay kids just want to eat pizza and fried chicken.
I think um with the Indian kid and the curries, I
Yeah.
think as a child I found it very overwhelming to eat curry by myself
What do you mean?
because my mom would mix a plate and she would put the dal and the rice and the fish and the vegetables. She would mix it and she would feed us.
Oh,
So we were all fed by hand
oh my goodness.
for many, many, many years of our lives. And then
Really?
when we became teen,
Good
yeah.
grief.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And my dad, as an adult, will go home to his mother's house and get fed. My
Huh?
brother gets fed by my mom once in a while. Yeah. It's a very Indian thing.
I wonder, is that psychologically good for you? I mean, like, it might be good for
Possibly,
you. Who knows?
it's a connection, right? Because you have to look at the person. You have to like
Yeah,
enter
right.
the
Yeah.
hand into the
I
mouth,
mean,
right?
I do
And
remember my mom doing it to me. I don't remember it being like
yeah,
a thing, but I do remember it. Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Yeah,
culturally
it's like they mix it for you and they break it up and then
yeah.
like.
And then when you grow up enough and you have to feed yourself, you go like, how do you mix this stuff? Why does it not taste the same? What is the
Yeah.
proportion? What's the magic? And then you learn that magic over time and you eat with your hands. And there are articles about people who eat with their hands because you're moving your five fingers, right? You're feeling the
Yeah.
food that you're putting in your mouth. That consciousness of consumption, the
Mm,
digestion starts from when the hand touches the food.
yeah.
When it's mixing that flavors and that smells and the textures, the brain's already connecting to the
Well,
food.
yeah, I mean, there is a psychology to eating and nutrition, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, that's why you shouldn't eat alone. I mean, one of the things that's very sad about the American experience is people are going to drive-ins, getting their food, and eating in their car on their way home. It is a
Mm,
soulless existence that
yeah.
is really bad for you, you know? You have
Mm,
no company, you're not involved with the production, how
yeah.
your food is made or sourced or
Yeah.
selected. It's not a good thing, you know?
So I feel like coming back to the kids not eating the traditional foods,
Yeah.
I think it's also a part of it. And this is just my assumption. I
Mm.
think a part of it is that when you come home and nobody's cooking that food in your house, you don't
That's true
smell it.
too.
It's not
That's true too.
familiar, you know?
Yeah.
And then when it's not familiar, you are also not eating the variety of that culture. Like
Yeah.
my mom's got Indian influence in her lineage, and my dad was the bigger influence in terms of the type of food that we ate. So we ate a lot of Indian food at home. Like my mom makes really good rasam and dals and Indian food. Like she learned, she had to put a lot of effort as we became adults to cook Malay food.
Mm.
Like for Hari Raya, my mom did a lot of that on the back of the fact that we wanted to host our friends for Hari Raya.
Mm.
So then she learned how to make the rendang. She learned how to make the, the
Right.
daging masa hitam and all this kind of stuff.
Well,
So,
I mean, you
but
raise
her
a
natural tendency is to cook Indian food.
well, but you
So,
raise
when you
a
talk about mother tongue, you also have your mother food.
but you
Yeah.
also raise a point. There's something about the modern economics that actually does. You have to be quite privileged to be able to even cook food. The time, the
Yes.
shopping, the knowledge, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I see families. I mean, we were spoiled. We had a cook, you know,
Yeah.
that was cooking two rounds of meals every
We
day.
never had maids growing up. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I see families with both parents working, and
Yeah.
they don't have time to cook. They're going and buying it from the tapao. They're
Yeah.
packaging it. So
Yeah.
if and then if you look in the American experience, which I was also surprised to see, they're even further down that lane. Some of my friends said they never ate anything but something they call boxed food. That means their food never fresh. It was always out of a box. Boxed macaroni. Yeah, add milk, put in the put and that was your dinner.
No.
Yes.
You know what's until today, the
Yeah.
thing that I like most that my mom makes that I know it tastes like my childhood is her chicken soup.
Mm.
Her chicken soup with cabbage, a little bit of potatoes. Oh my god, that's it. That's it. That's like my childhood.
Do you know
She
how to
barely
make
cooks
that?
that now, but I can make it myself now.
You
So
can? Oh,
yay!
okay, I'm gonna make you make it for me when I see you next time. Yeah,
No, but it's the simplest foods that you make at home that
yeah,
get made so many times that becomes part of your identity of food,
sure.
And
Yeah.
I think that's another thing. Having the foods being made at home in this somewhat traditional style or traditional variety becomes part of your identity, you
Yeah.
know? And I think these are things that either we learn to recreate or we just
Yeah,
keep
I
looking
think that
for.
is where having conversations about it and actually having developing content is actually an important direction because I think we don't know what to do about it.
Right.
We know what happened in the past. We kinda know what is our reality. I mean, I know
Yeah.
when you go to a mall, you don't have that many options.
True.
It's like and
Variety
then
in
and then
malls in malls and markets are very hard.
you're also driven by this globalized industry
Yeah.
addicting you to certain food. You and I, when we go into Paradigm Mall, guess what we wanna eat?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nothing.
What do you mean
Ice
nothing?
cream.
We go straight
We
for the
only go for
Baskin
this.
Robbins we go for Baskin Robbins ice cream is what we do.
Yes. And then we walk right out. Only
Yeah,
for
so
the highly processed ice
so in a way,
cream.
we're kind of very manipulated by environment, and
Yeah.
so how does that change? I don't know. I mean, you have to be quite intentional about it.
Yeah.
Today, Susan came around because she's doing some copy editing, and Susan's a
Mm.
vegetarian, and
Oh, okay.
she so I made lunch, and then she said, "Oh, you should go to all that trouble." But I was like, "But you know what? You forced me to be a little bit better." 'Cause I have to make this
Mm.
vegetarian meal. I have to, it's like
Yeah.
now
Yeah. Right, right. It's
it
intentional.
I
Yeah, for
make
sure.
it yeah, I make it work. I make it happen. I know Tuesdays
Mm.
I can do this. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
sometimes it's more worthwhile to cook for two than for one, especially with vegetables.
true too, true too.
Because you can't cut half a cucumber, no, half a brinjal and just use half. And then you can use the other half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I mean, I've become an expert in freezing, and I go to do you have the eco store in where you are? Do
Okay.
you know what that is?
Like the plastic, like they sell you a whole bunch of containers and stuff.
It's like a Mr. DIY.
Yeah. The
They sell
regular one. Yeah.
everything's 250,
Yeah.
and now they have this like stainless steel thing, and I started buying them because they've actually made me store things a bit better. Because before I was buying the Pyrex thing, and then
Okay.
I would buy them, and then I'd buy it from somewhere else, and then I realized all the top don't fit.
Oh no.
It's like they're all slightly different. So I've got all these.
Right.
It's just drives me crazy, and I forget it. I'm not going to do it. Whereas this is actually much more straightforward. I might just gradually replace with all the standardized stainless steel
Yeah.
container in two sizes, and I will
Easy
just
storage.
freeze off that I can now,
Yeah.
reheat up for meals, which is great.
Yep.
Uh, yeah. So just to round off this subject is, uh, we actually used to have a lot of plant-based embedded in
Yep.
our traditional diets. I
Yep.
think we are actually forced out of it because of an inability to maybe access it. Uh,
Yep.
we don't have like your mom at home with
Mm.
this encyclopedic knowledge of how to put together a delicious meal.
But
So
so we also had this culture of visiting our relatives a lot
true.
when we were kids. So as we visited, and moms sit down and they chat with each other, like the kids want to eat this, the kids
Right.
want to eat
Right.
that. I need an idea, and then they swap. They
Yeah.
swap recipes. They swap maybe methods of making something, and then you just have a little bit of a twist on the similar things that you make all the time,
Right.
and that re-energizes the cooking, the eating, the reinforcing of the food items.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing we've lost in our culture, in
Yeah.
terms of this visiting relatives. And everyone typically has
Yeah.
someone in the house who cooks.
Okay, that's an
Like, for instance,
important
my
point.
godmother, she's
Yeah.
vegetarian, but she makes like the best pickles. She makes salted fish pickles. So she's a Malayali, so she makes like salted fish pickles. She makes ginger pickles. So sometimes when we go, she makes like a batch,
Yeah.
and she makes it to give away.
Yeah.
So we get our supply when we go to her place. So we had these
And
transactions.
let's just mention that things like pickles were also a kind of diversity. Fermented food that we know now are probiotic, blah blah blah, etc.
Yep.
etc. Yeah. But I think just to go back on on this same idea is when you go to your friend's house, you're exposed to an information environment, or
Yes.
your moms are exchanging recipes and stuff. We are actually in an information environment that has become globalized. So actually, I see a lot of people are just confused about what is nutritious anymore. Goji
Yeah.
berries, acai berry. It's like it's just not. Some of it's just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense that to do
Uh,
with about selling products.
More is less. Less is more.
That we actually have kind of lost our minds a little bit about, and we're
Yeah.
sharing and posting, and
Yeah.
I remember talking to someone about. She was saying that she was buying uh, a thing for with capsaicin, which is from chilies,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of science that says it's really good for your heart because you've got some heart
Yeah.
condition. And I'm like, why don't you just eat a chili? Because we don't even know whether if you extract the capsaicin from the chili, the capsaicin still exists as a real thing.
Yeah.
That is actually something that Michael Pollan sort of talked about. He says,
The
we,
efficacy of the
yeah, we
thing
don't
that's
know what is the soul of a carrot. We actually don't know whether if we extract it, we are actually extracting it, you know,
yeah. Yeah.
because
It is still there.
that's the basis of how food is constructed now. It's,
Yeah.
25% carrots, so we get 25%, X, Y, and Z. But we don't know if that's what's happening. Whether you
Yeah.
actually have to eat that carrot
No,
for
but
it.
that's the question behind processed foods,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The question is for. I mean, let's not go to processed foods. Let's talk about plastic recycling, right?
yeah,
You take a piece of plastic like this, right? It's been colorized. It's been conditioned to be hard and stiff. And when you mix it with other plastics, then you need to like bring it down to a base, and then you need to then adjust it for something else. So when you think about foods and the way it's extracted, you have the similar process that gives it a different outcome. And in that process, you also have losses. And that's the thing that we can't account for, the losses during the change of the product from one point to the next. Yeah.
Right. Um, yeah. So we are now subject to this incredible mishmash of information. So you combine that with actually our product environment, i.e., you go to supermarket and it's like you conflicts, because it's just a big thing of conflicts, and you think that that's what you should be having for breakfast.
The huge aisle. Cereal is a
Yes.
huge
Yeah.
aisle.
So so we are very influenced by and there are people who are profiting from that misinformation. You
Yeah,
know, the people that are actually sending out information in terms of food are actually profiting from it, because
for sure.
if they are getting eyeballs on it on some silly TikTok about something, they're getting money from it.
So you know what you mentioned just now about the misinformation about people, the meat industry
Yeah,
pushing animal based
yeah,
meats over plant based foods. I think if you want to look at animal based protein in a holistic way, it is not just beef and chicken. You're
yeah.
talking about duck, you're talking about rabbit,
Yes,
you're
that's true
talking
too.
about mutton, you're
Yeah,
talking about quail. You're talking about a larger variety of
yeah,
protein, not
yeah,
just the cow, not just,
yeah,
chicken.
yeah.
So if you're really considering to have animal protein, you need to broaden the spectrum,
Sure.
not narrow it down. Like
Yeah,
in Malaysia, we eat quail eggs, we eat chicken eggs, we eat duck eggs.
yeah,
Typically, duck eggs are salted. And I feel like many people have in the city lah. Many people don't eat salted eggs as much. I don't know if people still eat a lot of quail's egg in town, but yeah, if you're out here in Kemaman, in
yeah.
Cherating, you see it quite regularly. And there's also unsalted duck eggs. And there's also the controversial turtle eggs that people eat,
Right.
So there is part which is tradition, part which is just resistance to change. And then
Yeah,
there's another part which is just diversity because we
yeah.
need diversity. And this
And
is
then
by no means promoting turtle eggs, but that is what people assume is diversity.
sometimes that
Yeah, here.
information is good, because just the last couple of days, somebody sent me a link from the West, right? If this is a Western thing. Oh, there's a vegetable you don't know about that is as high in protein as soy. And you know what it is? Kachaboto. Kachaboto. And I was like,
Kacang
and actually,
botol.
no, it's interesting because it's actually quite hard to buy kachaboto. You don't
Now,
see
yeah.
you don't see it in the supermarket. You might see it in the wet market because it's considered like a more traditional kind of vegetable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But it
yeah.
actually has 12 grams per 100, 12 grams of protein to every 100-gram serving, which is as high as soybean, which is,
Right.
you know, so if you had
Actually,
a,
I know a person who made tempeh using kacang botol kacang.
oh, that must be
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
But he can't make a lot of it because I think I, I can't remember what it was, but I think there is a limit to how much kacang botol you can eat
right, right, right. Yeah,
raw and how much kacang botol you can eat once it ferments.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So the portion has to be smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while I was sort of thinking about it, and then I thought, yeah, I made a lemak for Susan, which is our lunch.
Right.
I did tempeh, tofu, and 3 vegetable lemak with an egg.
Nice.
So it's actually quite nutritious, right? So one of the vegetables is sayomanis,
Okay.
which is another highly nutritious vegetable,
Yeah.
uh, as nutritious as kale.
Right. Very
And
green.
here people are crazy about kale, which has to come from another country.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to. Oh my, it's that's
No,
the
but the thing is, if you open a little social enterprise about growing sayur manis, people will laugh at you. But if you open a social
right,
enterprise and sell kale, people will fund you. You know,
right,
make a bit of kale chips here, teach
sure,
kids how to make a kale salad. You
yeah,
will get funding for it. So
yeah,
it is
yeah,
not just the fact that people lack the nutritional understanding of it. It is also the lack of support for growing something that is climate sustainable. Like
yeah,
a pucuk manis can survive the variety of weather changes that we are
yeah,
facing way better than someone who's planting a farm of kale,
yeah. But I
you
think
know?
another problem we also have is actually uh, there is a sort of a poverty mindset here because we are not so far away from poverty. We're maybe 2, 3 generations. Maybe 2, 3 generations ago, somebody was a rubber tapper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So So the idea of eating something that that person ate is somehow not in the plan. It's not in the plan. It's not in your self value.
Right.
They don't. They think that it's actually only poor. I've actually heard this because we tried to give the school kids tempeh burgers,
Mm,
and the Malay school teachers were like, oh, orang miskin makan tempeh. Because there is yeah, there is there's a stigma to eating what
yeah,
are
yeah.
considered poor people's food. So that I think that's another conflict here that we have. We haven't sort of raised the value of all our traditional heritage foods.
Yep.
Whereas tempeh is like, whoa, in the West, tempeh is like a big deal. It's only sold in like high-end gourmet
Yeah.
stores, and
Yeah.
only people who understand that it's high protein are buying into it and stuff like that. So, this is the strangeness of our world now and how we
Mhm.
culturally understand things.
I feel like sometimes we are not thinking of our, when someone introduces something to you like tempeh and it's introduced to you from the West. And okay, so for example, a typical middle ager goes to Bali because
Yeah,
Bali is the aspired holiday,
yeah,
right? They get there and they see all these people eating plant-based meals, and
yeah,
then along comes the tempeh burger, and they eat, they try because it's apparently cool
yeah,
or it's delicious here.
yeah.
And then when they go back to Malaysia, they come back to Malaysia and they see tempeh hanging in the supermarket in a plastic bag. They look at it and you go like,
Yeah,
that's not the
yeah,
same tempeh that I
so,
had there. When
yeah,
actually it's the exact same thing,
yeah,
just cooked,
yeah.
with a bit of
I
effort,
And
so
related to this in a little ways, we don't innovate our heritage food.
yeah,
Like you say I do all these crazy things with tempeh, like poaching it in this liquid to make the
yeah,
all that.
briny.
Okay, people think I'm crazy for doing stuff like that, because it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
uh, because people here are actually quite templated about traditional food. It's like, oh, this is like this, you know. So I've made like a pasta with what did I put? Oh, saltfish. It is because
Ah,
bacon is not great here. It's hard to get. It's not good
yeah.
quality. But saltfish you can get everywhere, and it's really the same kind of thing. It's like anchovy. It's almost like
Yes, I was gonna say it's
yeah.
very similar to
So I
anchovy.
will I will make pasta with anchovy. I remember putting it on my Facebook once, and it was just like silent. People probably were like aghast at this eating with salted curau fish and pasta. But I but it's
I
interesting
feel like
because
I've had this before.
maybe at my
I feel
house,
like I've had this before in your house. Yeah,
No, it's funny because
many many meals ago.
I had a friend who grew up in Italy, and he he was a lecturer here, and he said
Right.
that, people here think that Italian food is about Italian ingredients, but actually Italian food is about local ingredients.
Local ingredients.
It's
Yeah.
about what's close by. So he said,
Yeah.
"So can you tell me what are really good local ingredients?" So that was one of the ingredients I taught him was actually this ikan masin curau. And he loved it because he said it's just like anchovy. He was using it like maybe the Italians would use anchovy. And he would buy, instead of buying pasta from the supermarket, he would
Yeah.
go to the wonton mee lady and
Ah.
buy her wonton mee because he said that's pasta, that's fresh pasta.
Yeah.
It's actually the same thing, you know?
Yeah. Maybe
So
because we're used to it being dry.
yeah, so I think that's the problem. We actually find
Yeah.
it hard to reimagine our foods in this modern context. And I do all this stuff all the time. I'm always
Yeah.
marinating tempeh and grilling it in my air fryer. So it's a bit
Yeah.
like grilled chicken or something like that. And people aren't doing that with tempeh,
Yeah.
Tempeh is usually cooked in lemak or, you
Yeah.
know, sambal or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird. Okay, moving on to the next subsection. Plant-based diets lower the risk of cancer. The global burden of cancer continues to rise, in part due to an aging population and population growth. Worryingly, there's also a rising incidence of cancer in young people less than age 50. Yet 40 to 50% of cases could be prevented by addressing modifiable risk factors. And one of them is actually eating meat, red meats. Red meats are actually a big source of problems, and also processed foods and stuff like that. So, plant-based food, something that the meat industry wants to hide is actually eating more plant-based food actually reduces, they want to focus on the nutrition or the processed part of the thing, but they don't
Mm.
realize that actually by adding more plant-based to your food, you're actually reducing risk of disease, you
Yeah.
know? So that
I
that
guess also because with animal protein depends on how it's cooked. And yeah, it depends on how it's cooked. It takes longer to digest, and the question about cancer is linked to how it rots in the gut. When the food's consumed and it is not fully processed in the gut, and then you eat more, and then it doesn't fully exit the system. And I think it is not just the meat in itself, it is also the quantity of food we are consuming. So there's a lot of things connected to this. But when you take away animal protein and you just eat vegetables, the rate of process is also a lot higher. And like I think that's one about people with glucose spikes, which is mostly for diabetes person. If you eat your vegetable first when you get your meal,
yeah.
and then you eat your I think you eat your vegetables, and then you eat your meat, and then you eat your fruits, then you digest it better, and you digest it with less glucose spike. So there's a lot of these things that link
Yeah.
to the whole cancer,
Yeah, so
fortification of cancer.
it says here, right? So I mean, we must not forget that now data is changing the way we understand things, right? So now they have
Yep.
data that says compared to omnivores, lacto-ovo vegetarians, that means people who eat dairy and eggs, had a 9% reduction, and vegans a 24% reduction in overall cancer risk. So if you're eating a
Okay.
plant-based diet, you are actually less likely to have cancer risk. And that's
Right.
because eating meat, any kind of red meat, any red meat,
Yeah.
you immediately raise your risk of cancer. And that came out maybe like 5 years ago. It was like quite a big deal. There was like quite a lot of breakthrough studies that were
Yeah.
actually uh, there's also a lower rate of breast and prostate cancer in vegans.
Yep.
Uh, and the authors evaluated the link between dairy milk and the risk of these cancers. They found a strong positive correlation between dairy milk consumption and these cancers. So, it's, information, science, and data is emerging that is
Yeah.
actually quite troubling about what which is why this second article is really
Yeah.
quite aghast because, under Robert Kennedy, who is, uh, Mr. Crazy in the States,
Yeah.
he is clearly driven by the meat lobby to actually, the angle that they are actually, what they seem to be implying is that you can get all your nutrition from meat and dairy-based products because they're so rich in nutrition, you know. But the pushback here from these articles is that, yeah, but at what risk, you know?
I think the conversation cannot be single-sided. Meat or no meat. It cannot be that. It needs to be a spectrum. You need to eat what you need to eat
I think
because
so. Yeah,
everyone has different deficiencies.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
somebody may have anemia, somebody else may have, a lack of fiber. And I
yeah.
think moderation is the best course where you learn to eat less meat, more vegetables, but a good variety and a
And
wide variety.
diversity. I think that diversity in
Yeah.
diet is
And I
also,
think that's where we are very privileged as Asians.
yeah,
We have that diversity. We can grow some of that diversity. And I think in terms of the Kennedy chap, he's got Joel Salatin on his team. I don't
yeah,
know if Joel Salatin's still there, but Joel Salatin is very known in the US as a chicken farmer, and his chickens are
yeah.
insanely
I
well.
think that article points to someone else in his team who is
Yeah,
dairy, meat and dairy also. So he's going to
yeah,
promote it, you know. So
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Next up, next subheading: plant-based eaters have the best gut health, which is quite interesting because I think in the last 10 years, this notion of gut health has really, really risen in terms of an understanding of, oh my goodness, it really matters. You know, we're
I
starting
mean,
to
they're talking
understand.
about gut health as a second brain.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how bold the data is,
yeah,
right? It really affects you your whole life.
yeah.
Yeah. And like autoimmune disease has been linked to gut health,
Sure.
you know, and that
Yeah,
whole passing from mother to child, autoimmune conditions because mother was lacking certain things. So, which can be recovered by the child with proper diet. So I
yeah.
think again, it becomes very personal in terms of how they overcome that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think also, you know, to link it back to our traditional diet, you know, that whole microbiome thing, there's also fermented foods also matter in
Yeah.
this equation, which we have
Yeah.
also kind of walked away a lot from, which we're eating less and less and less. Even our
Yeah.
soy sauce that we buy, which is a common, everybody eats soy sauce, right? It's not fermented. Now it's
Mm.
constructed. They
So what it
don't
was. Yeah.
They don't ferment soybeans to make soy sauce now. It's
Yeah.
actually constructed from tastes, you know? It's made from a soybean, it's used hydrochloric acid, then
Yeah.
that salt, that caramel, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's how you get soy sauce. So,
Yeah, because soy sauce in the traditional form
yeah,
is a fermented food. It is something that is slow. It is a
yeah.
slow food. Yeah.
One complication of fermented food, which I actually saw in the States, which is also a little bit of an issue here. One of the reasons the traditional soy sauce makers are disappearing is because there's a conflict with public health. Because fermentation is, they're scared that it's a
Not so
public health.
clean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're worried about contamination and all that kind of stuff. So you actually lose
No, but
some
then
of,
the question is, right? The gut microbiome, because we don't look inside ourselves, we perceive as clean from the outside,
yeah.
right? But all these bacteria and
It's
enzymes
actually quite messy
need,
inside.
yeah, they are messy
Yeah, yeah,
things,
yeah,
and it's very, yeah. So the question then becomes whether it is making fermented foods or it is farming animals. It cannot be done in large scale. It needs to be done in smallholder scale, in very site specific environments with people who've been doing this or have learned this to keep it within a certain carrying capacity.
yeah.
So, if it's, and then it becomes artisanal. And then there's an economic value to it. So if you're
You
looking
know,
at redesigning the
I,
system,
I'm
it
not
needs to come
against,
from the
I'm not against the idea of scaling some of these ideas. Not everything has to be artisanal. You know what I mean? Like fermentation does not have to be
mass
just,
produced, yeah.
I mean, it can be scaled, uh, but we just don't do it very much. It tends to be left in the hands of artisanal people to make. But I think this is what we saw when we saw this first flush of plant-based out of Silicon Valley, where they're trying to recreate the egg and recreate burgers that look bloody
High
and stuff
tech.
like that. It was high
Yeah.
tech, it was innovation, it was actually very creative ideas to reconstruct these things. Like when it first came out, I remember going to eat a plant-based burger in Singapore. But it was such a big buzz about it. It was the Beyond Burger or something.
Yeah.
And I went to this place in Singapore to eat it. And then I realized actually, first of all, it was in a very fancy cafe. And then they brought out a burger that I could have bought at a McDonald's. You know what I mean? It felt there was a there
Expectations.
was a mismatch of values for me anyway, which I think maybe a local may not have. But for me, like eating at a McDonald's is like it's that $1 burger. It's like homeless people in New York City are eating that food. They're they're half living in McDonald's and eating dollar burgers. So there's definitely a value connection there. So the first thing I thought was, oh, this is weird, and I'm paying 25 sing for this burger, 25 sing, and then I eat it and I realize, this whole thing about the burger, it's not just about the burger. It's about the relish and the mayo and the ketchup and the bun
Yeah.
and the lettuce. All that is constructing for me in my mind the idea of a burger. So when I ate
Mm.
that, I was like, oh, it's like a burger. But when I'm actually eating the burger part of it, I'm like, it doesn't taste quite like it's not as good as a meat burger. But
I do my niece once,
yeah,
and then she turned around and she looked at me. She goes like, "This is beans. These are beans," and she called
right.
it out.
Yeah. But my next
So
my
yeah,
next thought after that was, "Hey, if you can give me this, I'll buy it. So that
yeah,
an animal doesn't suffer, I can
yeah,
handle that lower value in taste, but
yeah, yeah,
don't charge me 25 Singapore dollars for it. Charge me the
yeah.
McDonald's price and I'll be fine." You know? And maybe that's the future. It's like
Mm,
plant-based needs to get over its pricing problem. There is actually a
yeah.
pricing problem, you know?
So when I was in Melbourne years
Yeah.
ago, we found this joint called Lord of the Fries,
Oh,
and all their burgers were plant based. I think this was like back in 2012 or
yeah.
something. It was so good.
Some of them can be really good, you know?
Yeah.
I think my tempeh burger is pretty good,
Yeah.
because I poach it in all the poaching
Yeah.
liquids and stuff like that. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think if you are if it is upfront about it, this is a burger made of non-animal, blah blah blah, and you eat it and you appreciate it for what it is. It is very delicious. It is. I would use the word meaty because it's the texture that you're biting into. Like they use mushrooms in it and stuff,
sure.
and it's
Yeah.
really good. And you
Actually,
think about
I read that somebody is doing a fermented mushroom, and apparently it's really great as a burger.
monkey head mushroom burgers are amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that takes us back to the fact that we don't see enough innovation in a country where we can get a lot of these ingredients, you know?
Yeah.
It takes the West to bring this back to us. Like uh nangka. What's nangka in English?
Jackfruit.
Jackfruit.
Yeah. Pulled
Vegetarians eat a
jackfruit.
lot of
Yeah.
jackfruit burgers, jackfruit, what's the thing that they eat?
Pulled
Like
meats.
lobster cake. Because it's very
Oh,
shreddy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like a crab cake
Right, right.
alternative. So, we're not there yet, we in terms of, experimenting with
Innovating.
yeah, because we have a lot of stuff here that we can be fooling around with. Okay, we're kinda getting up there in time, so I'm gonna race through the last, couple of sections.
Mm,
So the first one is actually loops back red meat consumption, health outcomes, and industry influence. So we can't the meat people will not let us go, will leave meat eating because it's too valuable, you know.
yeah.
So this is, they will pay for influencers and advertising and product placement.
Chris,
Yeah,
the US, cowboys, what do they raise? Cattle.
yeah,
You're taking away the heartland of
yeah,
the US,
yeah.
which is cattle raising land.
No,
So,
it's also so American. I mean, a barbecue at the weekend, the sizzling of
Yeah.
the. It's so
It's
much part of your
culture.
culture. To say
Yeah.
that it's wrong is actually going to be very, very difficult.
Exactly. You're
Yeah,
going against the grain. So I
yeah.
think we cannot not have meat. I think that is culturally
Okay,
unfair.
so this is actually where a lot of people I get this pushback. It's like, why do you want to make plant-based things that are like meat? It's actually for these people because uh there's like,
Migration.
because vegetarian food is so nice, whatever, but it's actually not. If you grow up eating meat and you like meat, it's actually quite hard to give up, you know?
Yeah.
Because
Yep. Yep.
there's a density in flavor and texture
Texture. Yeah.
that is very, very pleasing,
Very
psychologically.
satiating. Yes.
Yeah. So it's hard to give that up. So the reason they keep trying to make it is they're trying to solve to that because
Yeah.
your average American guy is not going to give up that burger on the weekend. I mean,
Yep.
in the States, you're eating burgers at least 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah. I mean, the burger is an innovation on a steak. Instead of getting a
Yeah,
big
it's like
piece, single
it's a
solid piece of steak.
it's a cheaper steak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's an
yeah,
innovation of a steak. Yeah.
yeah. And even things like bacon, I mean, it's like I didn't realize how much bacon I had until I came back, and then you actually cannot buy bacon. It's actually quite hard to buy bacon because
Yeah.
it's not halal, so it's hard to find the resource. And then I realized, oh my god, in New York City, I'm probably eating a bacon sandwich at least like twice a week, you know.
Hmm.
And then your burger sometimes comes with bacon.
Yeah.
There's bacon in your salad,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
crumble, So
Yeah.
it's
Just salty.
yeah, so I think behind the scene of plant-based, there is actually a meat-based industry that is fighting.
Mm.
But I think so the other thing is, so the plant-based industry actually came up with this huge boom. It's like everyone was talking about it. Silicon Valley was really up, and then it went on a downward path. They started to
Right.
really struggle with it, and I think now it's bottomed up and they're coming back up again. I think
Yeah.
because I think they had to retool the some of the messaging about the processing. They had to
Yeah.
retool some of the flavor. And then I think the biggest hurdle is actually pricing. Beyond
Yeah.
Burger here in Malaysia is crazy.
Yeah.
It's like 25 ringgit a burger or something like
This
that.
is technology we don't have.
Yes, yeah,
And I
yeah,
mean, like for a long time, freeze
yeah,
drying was very expensive.
right,
So as technology becomes more available, these things become more affordable.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean, I'm
I think
facing the price of freeze dried pet food, and I can see the drop in price over time. You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if we were I'll just end on the sort of like 3 guidelines. One is which is actually what Michael Pollan wrote in his book Omnivore Side. He had a tagline that said, uh, "Eat real food, mostly plant." That was the tagline. So he was
Right.
basically saying, move away from ingredientism, which is how they're constructing things with corn syrup and
Yeah.
salt and all this fake stuff. Try and eat a
Yeah.
real vegetable or a real thing, and maybe just eat more plants in the
Yeah.
mix. So I think there's that. I think be aware of the science and also the misinformation out there that is that's quite conflicting, and you have to navigate that so that you really do understand what is
Mm.
working, what is a lie, and what
Mm.
is true, what's
Mm.
emerging, because there's a lot of
Mm.
stuff that's emerging because we're looking at data now. We're looking at 30 years of data that is changing our perception of what is maybe good or not good for us.
Yeah.
And then I think, and this is really my lane is, I think open up to innovation. I think you should really try new things. We should really, I'm always trying, uh, plant-based milks and, because it's worth it. Just try it. You
Yeah.
never know,
Yeah.
if you can, improve the,
Yeah, I remember when I was buying snacks for school and I
that
went
was a
to
big thing. I remember
Yeah,
that
I
was a
went
big deal.
to this
Yeah.
oh my god, what was it called? The Hive in KL. They had
Yes,
like
yes,
it's a
yeah,
bulk store and
yeah,
a lot of organic and well sourced stuff.
yeah,
And I remember looking at all their nuts and dried fruit.
yeah,
And then I was reading like, okay, there were 5 types of cashew nuts from Vietnam, from Thailand, from different places.
yeah,
And then I was like, oh my god, okay, they I can't tell the difference in taste.
yeah.
And I don't think someone who's gonna eat it at the cost would mind too much about the flavor profile if it was cashew nuts and, for instance, almonds. And I think for me, what was more important was that we're buying it as locally as we can. And Thailand, you know, would be closer than buying it from
Oh,
Vietnam. And I
well,
remember,
actually, we were having this conversation as well during that time. Is that
yeah,
our heritage is to eat just a little, like maybe a little salt fish. It's not a big deal to eat a little bit of wild caught fish,
yeah, yeah,
rather than being so strict about your veganism that insists
yeah.
that you only eat 100% plant-based
Because
material.
they were vegans for sure. Yeah,
And
yeah.
some
They
of
were
that
all vegans,
material is
mostly
very
vegans. Yeah,
and some of that plant material is very problematic. I
yeah.
don't eat cashew nuts. Cashew is very conflicted.
Exactly.
You
So
know, all
that
those
was
women
part
that
of
have to
me.
peel the thing have their fingers
Yes.
burnt, by the
Yeah.
sap
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
cashew nut.
Yeah.
Almond milk, I won't buy almond milk because
No.
almond milk is destroying the environment in California because of
Yeah.
the huge water requirements that it has. So there's actually a lot of problems with some
Yes.
plant-based things.
So when I was buying snacks for the cost,
Yeah,
because I was given a to-do list, and I mean they're New York based, right?
yeah,
So the to-do list had very interesting stuff on it, like
yeah,
what would you recommend as snack items? Can the snack items be part of a supplementary diet to their meals in case they don't have a full meal? Blah 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 blah.
yeah.
And then as we were looking at it, I'm sitting in the store and I'm like, holy god, I'm picking between cashew nuts, and it
But
became
actually,
really
some of the things that you
confusing.
did get, which were traditional foods, were actually very
Yeah,
nutritious. You know that
exactly. But I had to fight for them.
kue bangkit or whatever that is, that's made from green
I had
bean
to fight for
flour.
them. Yes,
Really? I mean,
yes,
that's nutrition. There's protein in it because
yes. And
it's
some
from
of
a
it was
pulse.
the flour was rice flour.
Yeah,
So because again, they were foreigners who were running the program.
yeah.
So they didn't have a high tolerance for adventure with their food.
And also
And
just knowledge. They just didn't know the availability of these kind of things here as well.
yeah, and
Yeah,
so some of it was like really just like, okay, I'm just gonna buy half the quantity, but I'm gonna buy two different things to make up the
yeah,
volume of one thing.
yeah.
And I had to carry so many things into Kuching. The guy thought I was opening a shop. It was
Actually,
really
the
funny.
one side note which was quite fascinating. I think there was a Brazilian girl
Yes,
in the group,
yes.
and I think she ate one of these kue bangkit type things, and she was like, "Oh, there's something very
So
familiar about
milky,
this."
it's so nice.
Because I think there is this Portuguese. There's
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah. So
because
familiar.
I see that like some of the foods in the mission in San Francisco where all the Latinos live, all the
Yeah.
South Americans live, their bakeries are spookily reminiscent of some of the baked stuff that we eat here.
The smells are very
The
similar. It's
because
coconut milk.
the Portuguese kind of moved all this stuff
Yeah.
around. Yeah,
Eggs. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Hey,
Oh,
another podcast with actually ending on a quite good note.
I'm hungry now.
Well,
There's a pasar malam tonight.
I've had a
So that's
plant-based
why I'm
meal.
here.
I've had a
Yeah,
plant-based
so
meal today. So, oh, your mom's gonna cook tonight then.
no, there's a pasar malam nearby. So we're gonna go check
Oh,
it out. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
All
we're gonna go
right.
see what we can eat at the pasar malam.
All right. Okay. So I think obviously we're
Okay,
going to be
yeah.
returning to this subject again at some point.
Yes.
So,
I
yeah.
think there's a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Take
Cool.
care.